The recent criticisms leveled against former West Indies captain Gayle have been deemed ridiculous by many in this part of the world. Gayle was fined over $7,000 for remarks he made to a female Australian reporter that were considered offensive, largely by a selective grouping of people. While it was shocking to hear some West Indians join in the condemnation of Gayle's jocular outburst, it was heartening to hear former West Indies vice captain Ramnevesh Sarwan advancing to the belligerent left-hander's defense. Sarwan said that the whole issue was totally blown out of proportion, and those who know Chris will know he was just making a joke. But it was the condemnation by former Australian captain Ian Chappell, now turned commentator, that was most ludicrous. Chappell, who was himself embroiled in controversy years ago when he played the game, posited that Gayle should be banned from cricket in Australia altogether. It was Ian Chappell who, in 1979, dropped his pants on the field of play at Border Cricket Ground in Georgetown in an unsolicited and uncalled-for tasteless display, completely being oblivious to the fact that the women of the Caribbean had already grown used to seeing better undergarments worn by the men in this region. In another cricket series in the Caribbean, New Zealand commentator Danny Morrison was seen on camera in a makeshift pool at the ground, making overtures to females in the pool and using his hands to do what this newscast cannot describe. There was no hue and cry about that behavior, let alone calls for a ban on him from the Caribbean. In the video on the screen, it can be observed that this female reporter was also flirted with in a much more aggressive manner than that of Gayle, but no commentator nor pundit made an issue of it.
What does it mean to you now when the team is struggling?
I want to kiss you. I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
Worse yet, the behavior of this sportsman was unbecoming, even though the female reporter was said to be either his wife or his girlfriend. West Indians are of the view that while there was no specific need for such comments from Gayle, the incident was deliberately manipulated into an immensely negative one, but in fact it was a realistically tame one by comparison to the ones earlier mentioned. West Indian sportsmen are asked to draw some experience from this incident and be cognizant of how they are monitored in the eyes of the world. The logical assumption here is that Gayle was bashed tremendously, not only because he's a West Indian, but an African West Indian cricketer. Basil Bradshaw, Safe TV 2, Headline News.